All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Simone Decker, and I'm a production coordinator on the product placement optimization team. Today, I'm so excited and honored to moderate the Ben W is for Warrior panel featuring three brilliant women of Ben. Today is March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, but more importantly, means we are about halfway through Women's History Month, which is a time to celebrate women and highlight the many achievements of our women of Ben and beyond. Here at Ben, we're really proud to share that our C-suite is 40% female, which is 15 percentage points higher than the global average. Also, as a whole, our company is 53% female and 47% male. So we have a lot to celebrate this month. Today, we're really grateful to be joined by three women of Ben who have a diverse array of lived experiences in this industry. Our objective with our time today is to discuss the way our business has evolved, how we hope it will continue to evolve, and how we can all continue being partners in advancing the role of women in our business and beyond. So here with us today, we have Caressa Douglas, Senior Vice President of Global Strategic Partnerships. Vanessa McCullers will be joining us shortly. She is the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategy, and Debbie Blevins, who is Global Influencer Marketing General Manager. So first, we will just jump in by having everyone introduce themselves, share a little bit about their position at Ben, and how they got their start in the industry. So with that, I will pass it to Debbie.
I get to go first. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I just was doing the counting the other day. I'm all of 4 months old. So I'm a recent person at Ben. I give a little bit about my background and why I'm here and what excited me. I Basically, my career has been between brands and agency my entire career. Anything from multinationals to startups, to global roles to really interesting roles. So I had a chance to actually play on both sides, which really helped me navigate. Saw a lot. Hopefully, I can share some of that today. And what attracted me and what got me excited to come to Ben is I'm always looking at what's new, like where are we headed? Is there something out there that's really interesting? Is there something out there that someone sees that others don't see? And I want to be a part of it always because I'm always thinking, okay, that sounds interesting. And that's when I was first aware of Ricky Ray. And we all know him quite well from when he speaks, but he saw something that others didn't see years ago. And he stayed focused and passionate, even when others dismissed his determination. And that, for starters, excited me. And being a part of that, and also coming into a company that wants to go and take on the world, absolutely excites me. And so that's what brought me in. And I'm really hoping that I can tell you more about what it feels like after I'm more than 4 months old. But I think what I can share today is some experiences I've had getting me to this point of being 4 months old in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love that, Debbie. Debbie and I just started vibing earlier because we haven't had much time together. So this is great. And
True.
even then, we're in the same office, but we can't be in the same room. So it's good. I am looking forward to this conversation too. I'm also looking forward to Vanessa joining us. We're having some technical issues. So you guys, we don't want to overlook Vanessa, but she'll pop in here soon. I'm Caressa Douglas. I am the Senior Vice President of Global Strategic Partnerships, which is like a really long name for I do product placement and I love it so much. And I've done it my whole career. And the very first day on my job, I was like, I never want to do anything other than this. And so what I've spent my time doing is getting to creatively participate with entertainment content and storytelling with our brands. So, which thank God I didn't have to audition myself because I'm way too insecure for that. But auditioning your brands and being that talent agent for your brands. And we'll talk about that. I think a lot of people have heard me talk about how I think it's so powerful that brands move the story forward. But I love my job. I'm very passionate about it. And like Debbie, we're going to talk about things, how they've changed. I think how they haven't changed. And and experiences that have made us stronger for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you both for those intros and sharing a little bit about your journey here. I'd love to just talk more about your journeys here to Ben and kind of what barriers you had to overcome in getting to the position you're in. These could be like personal barriers or career or mental health barriers, kind of just anything that was a challenge in getting here, because I think it's so refreshing and reassuring to hear what people have overcome. And so I'll just open the floor to whoever wants to jump in first there.
Well, Deb, you kind of just, maybe I skipped over it because you kind of just talked about how you came here. And so I can summarize how I came here with, it was networking. And, I met when I was in college, and maybe or maybe not partying, but let's call it socializing. I met someone whose dad owned Unique Product Placement, UPP, and he was talking to me about what his dad did, because I was talking about, maybe what I wanted to do when I grew up. And he mentioned that his dad did product placement. And I was like, I remember a paragraph in my communications class, just maybe 3 lines about it. And I thought that'd be really cool. And if he has internships, let me know. And that was it. And a year later, he called me and said, hey, I went to work for my dad's competitor, which that's a whole other story about how these agencies started out. We were like small agencies, we're all friendly competitors. So he went to go work and he had a great relationship with his dad. So it's not about that. But anyway, he said, you should come on in. And I did. And I got the job. It also helped that there were a couple gals that, gals that shopped at my Gap with me when I worked at the Gap. So it's like by networking in those places, people knew me. And that's how I got it. And Simone, not to turn this about you because you're moderating, but that's how you came to us. Because you reached out to me for an informational interview in high school. And then I don't want to steal your story, but you kept in touch, kept abreast of Ben's activities for the last your whole time at Pepperdine,
5
right?
years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I knew about Ben. I thought that you had the coolest job ever. And I was like, I have to meet her and learn more about what she does. And I kind of just kept my eye on Ben, on you, on your career, on LinkedIn, and kept following up until one day a job opened up and here I am. So, yeah.
And here you are days later. So thank you for doing this on this panel. But yeah, Debbie, you want to, I'm gonna let you talk because I can definitely talk.
I know. And I said how I got to Ben, which is the most recent, but when we were talking earlier, and it was really great because Vanessa and Simone brought us together. So we started just having stories. How did you get in the industry? So for me, the industry, when I came right out of school, I got a marketing job. So it was like, I'm going to get a job. So I've got a little bit, I can tell you about that. I'll get to that a little bit later when we get deeper into the conversation. And that was when you're trolling, it was a really great opportunity. And I saw some really interesting behaviors that really set how I chose where I wanted to play and how I wanted to live it. And I had no idea at the time what I was seeing, but, and I'll share it. But what got me into the industry, to me, that really changed me was the advertising agency, which was digital, and then getting into brands. It was a friend. It was a friend of mine who was a creative director in an agency, and he knew me socially, and he said, "You've got these characteristics that I think would be really good. You would be really good in an agency in client service." And I didn't know what that meant because I was like, I studied it, but I had no idea what that meant. He said, "Why don't I introduce you?" He said, why don't I introduce you to someone who is, she was head of client services and thankfully it was a small shop, but it was private. It was 2 creative directors who ran the shop. It was great when they used to have them that way. So she did. So we met, we had a chat. Probably one of the strongest women I've worked with ever. She was strong and smart, and I learned so much, so fast. And we started a conversation, and then months later, next thing I know, I'm in there learning it in probably one of the best environments ever. And again, it was 1 year later. That company was the trend then. It was purchased by a multinational. So I actually got a chance to be in almost a family style, where the 2 people's names on the placard, they were the creative directors, and they ran it. So it's a very different than being in multinationals or other size companies. And so that got me going. And I loved that was my introduction. And then I've just chosen, I didn't have a path. I've never had a path. I've never said, I had girlfriends in school that would say, oh, I'm going to be a vet. I'm going to be a doctor. And I was like, I didn't have that. Never had it. But opportunity comes my way. And I think, okay, that sounds kind of interesting. And there's certain things that, I look for. Non-negotiables, things that are true to who I am. And then I'm smitten. And like my most recent experience, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Like the opportunity is great, and all those things that matter to me lined up nicely. Values, things that often I think when you're earlier in your career, you don't know them yet. You just do it instinctively. I think it's in you. Like you're looking for that fit or that, I would say, who am I going to go play with? That's my language. And you maybe don't articulate yet, and you haven't had some missteps yet to know, oh, right, that's important to think about. Or that's something really important to notice about a company or a dynamic that helps you through. I can talk more about what some of the interesting stuff that charted my life, but I know that I've got Carissa over here is bursting with stories because we just tapped them yesterday. I know.
No, but you know what I love? What you just said about having a plan. I think it's really great not to have a plan.
I didn't.
And I think we're always I do not like that interview question where they're like, what's your 5-year plan? Like, actually, maybe don't have it because you want to be open to more. And because I see, I think I know a lot of makeup of this company are overachievers. And that's why we are so good in this company, because you have to be self-motivated. And I think a lot of my peer groups they put that on us. Like, I want to be this or that. You guys, I wanted to be a lobbyist, which is hilarious because I kind of do that now. Like I spent a summer in Georgetown when I was in school for summer school, and I got to meet real lobbyists, and I'm like, you guys are so slimy. So then I decided I didn't have like the wherewithal to like deal with keep up with that. But then it's funny because I actually lobby productions to use our brands for usually no money. So
funny,
hilarious that it did come back. But I think that's actually a barrier. That when you're talking about barriers is when you think you have to be on a certain plan. And I think I think comparison as women, I think we're maybe conditioned for that because we're raised, you're told that you're supposed to look good, be quiet, all these rules, I feel like, as women. And I do think maybe we have this, maybe we do in such a hurry to keep up with others, and whether it's like, I need to have a family by this time and have this type of marriage. And a lot of people on this call know me. And I was married young, I was divorced young, and I was a single mom for pretty much their whole lives. And because I think when I look back at that, I was doing a lot of this, I have to be on this plan. And it's like, I've got my career right now, and, I've got to get a house now. And, I've got to meet someone who, a lot of people know the story. And then, I'm going to have kids. And I was really young when I had kids. And then by the time, I was 34, I was divorced and a single mom. And so I think my barriers was by maybe sticking too much to that. I held myself back because I was also then too afraid to make moves because I felt those adulting responsibilities. And I totally must steal a line from, I think it's AWOL Nation, that never let fear dictate your fate. And when I was young, I really was fearless. And I was like, I didn't even know what I was doing when I got in here, but I didn't care. I totally believed in myself. It was going to be great. But then once you started getting into that and fearing, I could fail, I have responsibilities, and I let that fear dictate my fate for a long time. So I himself was my own barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, and I think, I hope it's not all women, but I think we do. We put so much on ourselves that we have all these responsibilities, and that can be a barrier, I think. Well, for me. Also, everyone on the call who doesn't know me, I'm totally going to share way too much information.
But we actually had that discussion together before we got on together and said, it's on us to be honest. It's on us to be a little raw and expose ourselves. Otherwise, we're not. I think that's what, and one of the stories I was sharing earlier, I walked into my first marketing job, and the two most senior women, the first one, I'm just going back to the sharing comment. The first one had decided that there's only two women in this whole company. It was family owned. It had just been purchased. And these are the two for me. I'm like, okay, what are they like? Because that's what you do. You aspire to people in a company, and you look at what they're doing and how they're doing it. And that kind of should tell you how you should be. At least that was my thinking. Well, one of them had a full family, husband, 3 kids. And I didn't know it. And she hid it. She had how people have pictures. I'm not good at this, but they have pictures at their desk. So she had pictures at her desk, turned over or hid it. And I was like, that was weird. I'm like, what is like, are you unhappy with them today? Like, I'm thinking, what happened? And what I found out was, and she would never talk about her family. She would never talk about, obligations like dinners or, I don't know, birthday parties. And she always gave them second fiddle, always. Like that was secondary to her primary. And what I learned from her was she had decided that for her to get ahead in that environment, in that company, she had to be more like the men that she was working with, right? Otherwise, she was not going to proceed, and she was not going to be taken seriously, and she was not going to advance her career. And so what she saw in that day was men who had families that were taken care of at home, and they could completely 100% dedicate themselves to their job. And she didn't have that. Like, she and her husband both worked. So that was for me really jarring. And I thought, my heart broke for her because she loved her kids, and I could see the angst. Like, she would stay late knowing that she said no to taking her kid to a ball game. And I could see her being conflicted, and that absolutely stayed with me. I didn't know what I was saying, but that stayed with me forever. The other senior woman in there was classic, it took me everything to get, to break the ceiling and be who I am, and I'm a powerful woman. And therefore, for some reason, decided that every woman coming up behind her was going to have that same horrible experience that she had, rather than help them, like, pave a way and say, you know what, let me help you not repeat what I did, or not feel how I felt, or, do that for them or better their experience. No, her idea was every woman coming up is going to feel that times 10. And I thought, that's such a thing. And for me, again, learning, fascinating to see it. And it didn't seem right. And I'd even see difference in how she'd treat men versus women. Like, women was just brutal on, because they just had to learn their stripes, because that's how she did. And those two, for me, first career out, was just off the charts. Wow, that's not feeling right. And that's not who I want to be. And that's not how I want to live, because I've got a life, and I've got a career, and I don't want them to war with each other. And I don't want to look like this woman who's sitting at 6:00 at night helping me with the DAC. And I think if she could, she would have just cried. She wouldn't, because she wouldn't show that weakness, but because she had said no to her kid. And so that had a lifelong impression on me, of like, I'm neither one. I want to be neither one.
Yeah.
I totally cried. I don't even know if Jermaine is on this call, but Friday night, I was having a really tough day, and I was working really long on Friday afternoon, and I had a call from my son, and I felt I couldn't be there for him. And poor Jermaine's talking to me in my office, and Jermaine, are you on this call? And he has a really close relationship with his mom too. And I just felt like in this comfortable place that I was like, Jermaine, this day, and I just like, oh my God. I will tell, I don't know who's on this call, but I just started bawling. And I realized, because it was just one of those, so much with my personal life balance, which balance is a whole other topic that is triggering because it doesn't exist. But yeah, I had that moment where, and I that's so sad for that woman. And you learned from that, because I do think I kept apologizing to him that I was crying. And that's another thing that drives me insane, that women, we feel this need to always apologize. Even you hear it in the office, like, oh, I made a mistake on this page. It's this deck. I'm sorry. Or if someone doesn't pick up a call, because I'm a phone person and I call them, and they'll say, I'm so sorry, I was on the other line. I'm like, you don't have to, please stop saying sorry, men and women, because you were doing your job. You were on the other line. You were talking to someone, like, doing something. You were working, and all this work from home. Maybe you had a kid who was crying. I don't have toddlers right now, and I couldn't imagine toddlers during this. So, we have to stop apologizing, and it's okay if I don't know. I may cry. I don't know how many people I've cried on here, but I just will let it out sometimes, because I just have.
Yeah.
I
love.
Yeah, I just said sorry.
I love that, Debbie, what you mentioned about learning what you didn't want by observing someone, and Cressa, you learning what you wanted by, understanding you had to be a self-starter and really networking. Those are just like a handful of these really important skills that make you both so great at your jobs. And so I want to ask, what skills are you learning currently, or have you learned, that you think are crucial for people entering the industry, or maybe who are building their careers right now? Cressa is my boss, and she always says that she is still learning, which I love. And so I just love to know what these skills are for you guys.
I'll jump unless you. I saw you kind of pause for a moment. The one for me and Vanessa's, unfortunately, we don't have her as part of this, so we'll put words in her mouth for a moment or bring her in to the mix. Is for me, learning is thinking that you have nothing to learn. Like that's the hardest thing, is to make sure you keep pushing yourself to put yourself into situations that might not be super comfortable because there's a learning element to it or an unknown. Being able to, and this environment's perfect. I love it. Put your hand up and say, I don't know. That's a learned skill. I mean, you're not trained that, right? Especially the more senior you get, there's a sense that you have to just answer on the moment. And that's a hard lesson to learn. I learned that one. Learning to understanding that being uncomfortable is okay, as long as you're not completely out of your league and you aren't qualified, but it's okay. Like you've got to be a little bit on edge. So then you're just a little bit more curious and hungry and driven. And the other one is, and the one when I got to the learning part, I went through in a previous company, we did a lot of work around unconscious bias. And I'm just going to share with you, I was tapped as a senior leader to take a very intensive, full day, understand what this is about, and then do some courses and then do it with my teams and everything else. So absolutely, the company I was with was in 100%. And I remember the leadership, mostly male, all did it. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. For me, I'm just like, that's interesting. Did you learn it? I'm thinking, did you learn anything? And then I got asked to take this course. And in my head, I was going into it like, I don't have biases. I'm going to do it because I said I would, and there's learnings here. But I don't really feel like I'm bringing in this is probably about 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. And I went in open-minded though, but I thought, this is going to be good, but what am I going to learn? I was blown away within the first 5 minutes. And we were doing lots of exercises and I just went, wait a minute, because I've been really proud in how I believe that I'm open-minded and I'm listening and I'm observing and I'm doing the right things. It doesn't matter. There's so much that you've gotten from the moment your feet hit the ground as a child to the point of where you are, the industries that you've been in, the conversations you've been in, the family dynamics that you've been, whatever that is, you bring them in. And the other thing is I had the word bias in my head as being a really awful term. That was I don't want it. Don't tell me I have a bias, because that's like saying you're wrong. And it isn't. It was an enlightening for me. It was, you have biases because look, this is this is where you come from, or this is your environment. Understand them and then work to making sure that you are the better person. And that to me was, and I don't know if I articulated it properly, but that to me was the biggest learning I've had in the last couple of years that I try to bring in every day. It's hard because our own confidence gets in the way sometimes, or our assurance. And you got to remind yourself, wait a minute, what am I doing? Challenge yourself to be the better person. And I think that's a daily thing.
I love how you're talking about asking questions, because, even when you're in school and stuff, you're put on the spot and you think, oh gosh, everyone knows more.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many times we have meetings or summits or anything, and I was like, did I miss an acronym meeting? Because I swear I accept every meeting, and was I ADHD that day? And I swear to God, I don't know what that acronym is, because so much is thrown around. And I do ask when we work with our team, and Simone, I've asked you, when you started, do you understand what that was? And I've even said, I don't know what a RASCI is, so I'm going to look it up, because I don't know yet, right? And that's okay, if we don't, something to ask that question. And that's my segue into feedback and asking questions.
Yeah.
I think it's human nature. You take up your comment about, negative connotations, or what we think are negative words, right? So feedback isn't always a bad thing. And, I do ask, did I do something? What did I do that helped you, or that was right? And also what could I improve on? Or what do you need to be motivated? I want that feedback. And years ago, I had a male boss, and he had great intentions. And I valued what he did here, which I'm going to talk about. And he came from tech background. And so he wasn't from entertainment, but I know you rolled your eyes, but he brought something that I wasn't used to. I came up in small companies, startups, entertainment. We perceptions reality. We sell smoke and mirrors, so it's very like fluffy and stuff, and everything's great and sunny with our clients and this and that. And so you're kind of used. I was definitely reared on that. And he came in as a deficit hunter. So he came in with a good intention of trying to improve whatever it was by finding what wasn't great. So we started having presentations together with clients, and we had become Ben, and we were still in this mode where I don't think we knew what we were, to be honest. If I could see people, there were probably heads nodding right now. But we go in these meetings, and after every presentation or meeting, we'd come out and he would say, I'm going to give you feedback, and it's with the intention of growing you. I want you to be the best you. And he would caveat that, and he would give me feedback. And sometimes I was like, okay, I suck. Did I sound stupid in that meeting? Because he would tell me that. But you know what? I learned from that. And I do think that you learn from the feedback is sometimes, like you're saying, it's hard to take. And I do think that a skill that we all can improve on as humans maybe is understanding how to take that feedback, and also understanding how to give feedback and stand up for how you're feeling, especially if you're in various levels of whatever your level is. It is hard to say, you know what, and go to someone and have that trust that you say, I didn't understand this, or I'm not comfortable with this, or I want to go here and ask the questions and ask for it. Like some very tactical things that I would like people to remember is preparation. Preparation is key. So I think that's another skill that we need to reinforce. And a communication. I think, like I just said, we're in an industry that is already giving us a lot of bullshit. So whether it's an influencer maybe saying, oh, I don't know, I don't work on influencer side, but if they're saying, oh, I did this, and this, and maybe they haven't yet, or producers or production people who are telling us one thing and then we know it's the other, this and that. We can't control them. So like we can't control that, but we can be honest with each other as a team. And if we know what we're dealing with and we know what that issue is, we can tackle it. But when we're not honest and we're not in an environment of that, we can't move forward. So I think that being honest and direct is a very important skill, and to be okay with that. I was a people pleaser. I still struggle with that. So I have to like push and say, you know what, that actually is not a good thing. It's not helping matters. It's not helping development of a team member. It's not moving a situation or deadline forward if we're not just being like, hey, this is what's going on, or picking up the phone, especially since we're all in different locations, and saying, did I interpret your Slack? I interpreted it this way. Is that what you meant? Or like, is that what you meant with that email? Or even with clients, like most people know me. I'll say, get on the phone. They know I'll say, get on the phone, because it's harder now since we're not together. I have a lot to say. Sorry. There's Vanessa.
All right. Thank you so much. I had some technical difficulties, but we won't dwell on that. I think it actually bodes well with the question that you had here, which is, what have you learned recently that you would share with others? And that answer is, I will not think that that I can do everything by myself. I think that we as women sometimes, and you ladies tell me, kind of struggle with that, where we feel like, no, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do that. But sometimes we need to be okay with allowing others to help us, and reaching out for help, which is one of the things that I probably struggle with the most. It has to be like a dire situation where I'm like, okay, fine, I'll have someone help me. But of recent, like I've realized that I can't do everything the way I would like to. And if you're in the pursuit of the closest thing to, if not perfection itself, then it is very important that you learn to rely on people around you and not be afraid to ask for help. There is nothing weak about asking for help. It's not, help is not something that's aligned with being a woman. Help is something that's aligned with being human, right? So we have to allow ourselves to reach out to others and ask for help.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. And I'm so happy you could join us. So good to see your face.
Good to see yours too. Thank you.
Yeah. Something Cressa and I think Debbie, you both touched on this a little earlier, I want to dive into as a whole group is kind of this idea that we are not good enough or that maybe we aren't cut out for this. Cressa, you mentioned like being in a classroom and thinking everyone else knows more than you. And this is kind of known as this phenomenon of imposter syndrome, feeling like, oh, you're a fraud, or maybe you're not, who you think you are or who other people think you are. And so I just want to open up that topic and discuss maybe if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome, and if so, how you navigated your way through it.
Vanessa, well, I came right on time, right? I know. I was like, I just came right on time. This question, I feel sometimes, if you don't mind me answering this one, because I think this hits me, particularly because I happen to run in a lane where I identify in so many different ways. I identify as a Black person. I identify as a woman. I identify as a mother. And in having all of those identifications, what's most important to me, what's become most important to me, is trying to stay authentic to each one of those areas of myself that I feel need to be fulfilled, right? And I remember years ago when I worked at MTV, I had a boss who kind of pulled me along on everything. He wanted me to be a part of the journey. He really helped truly open up some doors for me in a very unexpected way. He's some people might say, an unexpected person to open these doors up for me. But I remember, attending certain meetings with him where I felt as though the preparation was not only what was the material that I was putting together, which, pat myself on the back, humbly speaking, best in class material, but also being able to deliver that material in a way that, that would allow the people to overlook what they saw. Did you hear what I just said? I didn't necessarily want them to see me for me. I wanted them to see the work. And so I would everything from I have locks now, which I just cut 7 inches off. It was really, really long. But I used to wear my hair in a little short pixie cut, right? And it was straightened, and it allowed me to kind of, take on a different persona that didn't necessarily sound like the girl who grew up in the Bronx with parents from the islands who, tries to keep it real as much as she can. No, I was what I would call a chameleon, right? And I think that a lot of Black women, Black people in general, Black women do, who work in corporate America, do have to, kind of create this chameleon-like persona in order to feel comfortable in a room, sometimes to get into the room, to sit at the table, and then to have a voice. But what I found was that my true power, as I started getting older and realizing that, you don't have to do those things to be accepted and to be to have a voice in the room. Just be you. And I started growing my locks out, and that was a really uncomfortable stage as I was growing further and higher in my career. But I had to do it. I had to, really embrace the fact that I am all of those people. I am Black. I am woman. I'm from the Bronx. I grew up in the Bronx. And you are going to hear me and know me for who I really am. And you want to know what? When I started embracing that, that is when I saw myself in my career begin to soar. That's when I realized that my superpower was not what I was able to throw on my hair or straighten my hair or whatever. My superpower was in me being me. And that I'm glad I got myself out of that imposter syndrome. I'm glad I embraced being me.
Well, Vanessa, I love that you said that. And I feel like we all came up in a different time in the workforce that was true. I wonder if, and I always think like being your authentic self that's what makes us strong, because we're really truly like, we know who we are and we're backing it. But has it gotten better though? Has it gotten better in the generation that you can be whomever your authentic self? Like, do you feel like it's different now for you because of our environment? Sorry, Simone, to be asked. So I said sorry. But I know Debbie and I want to talk about imposter too, but like, I just had a question, like, do you think it's improved? And we've, like, corporate America has maybe gotten better, and that's why
the rest of the world had to change too. You know what I mean? And I think, but please know that what I'm sharing with you in terms of how I felt about myself and about my locks is not something that, first of all, it didn't change overnight. And secondly, the rest of the world changed along with it. We have seen instances where people have been told that they cannot wear their natural hair. As a matter of fact, there is the Crown Act, which went into play. That bill was passed, and I participated in lobbying for that. The Crown Act is about hair discrimination, and that a company can't discriminate, and of course based on state, can't discriminate on an employee or a potential employee based on their hair and them wearing their hair in its natural state. And that the Crown Act just started getting passed in the last 2 years now. So yes, it is getting better, but boy, it's taken a long time for us to get to this place. And I think that it will continue to, get better as time goes on, and as people start to realize that, you are not your hair, you are who you are. I hope that helps answer that.
No. I didn't know if Debbie was going to go.
No, I just think that's such a powerful story that anything else that I'm going to serve up. No, but it's just nothing even close to what you just shared. Mine's a way lesser, again, observationally, but not in the same league. For me, was learning, finding my voice. And I think I love what you just said. And I was in a online brokerage firm. And so I joined, and the only women, typically the roles for women in that environment are HR or marketing. So I was heading up marketing, and I was sitting at a board. And so as a part of the leadership team, executive leadership team, I was sitting around a boardroom, and it's all men. And this is the first time I ever noticed this. They all came from the same background, like finance, economic, whatever, like business background. That's not mine is a minor, but that wasn't my background. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, I've got to be more like the folks around me, and at the time thinking, because that's obviously they've all come from the same place, and they could talk the same language, and there's just things. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, I'm thankful I had a very insightful CEO. I found it in me to say, no, my strength, my superpower, my strength is staying true to why you brought me in here. You brought me in here to help you understand what you should do. And you're looking for a viewpoint that doesn't exist at the table today. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. So that's that whole diversity. Like, I believe diversity is at the boardroom, it's at the dining room table, it's all our circles. And so I was brought in because I didn't come from the same schools. I didn't have that same thought. I wasn't male and all those things. And I had a very insightful CEO. And so I actually sat him down and said to him, there's a whole bunch of courses I could take to be more like we're shoulder to shoulder, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stay true to what you brought me in to do. And I'm going to give you that guidance. And if that's not of value to me, you'll let me know, because then I'm just going to be, what's the point? But if it's of value to you for me to stay true to what you brought me in to do, I will do that. And he got it. And I thought, okay, well, that was, because to me, that's a bit of a gamble to have that conversation. And he did. And I stayed true to it. I, of course, got more versed in online investing, but I stayed true to what he brought me in to do. And it felt weird, but you just gain and he made sure that I felt comfortable at the table, and he tapped in for my experience. And that, because I had that support and also that openness, it worked.
Well, And that was my imposter. I lost my mojo, and I've talked about this before, because when that happened to me, we were sold, when Norm Marshall became Corvus, we were going to have this grand plan, but that no one really listened to the actual how we can be successful and what had been successful. And we're going to have this grand plan, and we're going to do it this way, and we're going to change all this dialogue and Caressa. We're going to take you from what you've built, your whole career on and the success of First Agency and Norm Marshall, and we're going to put you over here, which is not that I'm afraid of change, but I wasn't taught. I was just thrown into this, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to talk in all this lingo, and no one really mentored me or prepared me. And but I was treated, the imposter side is not only was I insecure about not understanding this whole new world of what we were talking about in the plan, there were also so many conversations that were behind closed doors that weren't shared with the rest of us. So then you're going in without that transparency or knowing what the context is so you can prepare better. And but then on top of it, that same all group of old white men who came from a totally different field would talk to me like I was a dumb blonde. And for the record, all of you, I was not blonde. I'm not blonde. I'm not really blonde. And I'm not dumb. But, this was this whole angle, I was on one call. I don't know why, but that's what I was treated like. And I was senior leadership. And I was on a call where we were doing a stand-up with a previous CEO, not our current CEO. I will make that totally clear. And I was reporting what those numbers were. And he said, can we just all take, once it was done and the numbers were impressive, can we all just take a moment and recognize that Caressa just said COGS?
What?
Like I'm a dumbass. And I was like, wow, that's super encouraging, and another time I've talked about this too. I came out of an IT summit where we were learning about development of men and this and that. And my CEO, also not the current one, I ran into him in the hall when I went on bathroom break, and I wanted to really empower the group that was doing this session. I was like, oh, I'm learning so much, and he just didn't know what to say. And I was like, I always feel, like smarter when I'm around different groups of people and they could teach me these things. It's really cool. They're really great and this and that. And he looks at me, like totally eyes me up and down, literally eyes me up and down and says, well, yeah, you look smarter. Now, I don't know if he just didn't know what to say, but I was like, what? So am I dumb? So there's this constant angle, even though I'm jokey and I'm all high energy, that if I was told if I had a bad day, you wear your emotions on your sleeve. So when you have a great day, everyone's in a good mood. But when you don't have a good day, you got to keep that in because you put everyone else in a bad mood. So don't affect the mood of the company by having a bad mood. And which gave me a lot of power. I'm like, I don't have. So it's just some strange stuff. So I was like more of the feeling that imposter, because not only was I feeling a fish out of water with this whole new direction, but then it was actually being reinforced from leadership at the time. I will let everyone know it's not the current leadership. I'm getting spicy and dry with the. It was before though, so it's not. It's definitely changed, but that took a while to overcome and get my mojo back and say, no, this is what I'm really good at. You can kind of take this and take it. You can F off, because this is what I really do well, and I'm going to own it, and this is what I do, and go that way. So that was mine.
I love that. Thank you. I love what you said, Vanessa. You were explaining how kind of you had hit a low point, and then once you realized that being yourself was kind of what made your career thrive. I think that's so reassuring to hear, probably for a lot of people, that you can come out on the other side. But I really want to explore this idea of kind of being stuck in the pits or feeling so discouraged in your career that you feel like you want to run or give up or quit, because I think that you probably all have really helpful insight here for people who are at different spots in their career, but just talking about these times where you feel like there's no way out, or you feel like it's time to quit and cut your losses, and how do you work through that? I'll open it to whoever wants to jump on that.
Okay, I'm Miss Vulnerable. Yeah, I really, sorry, I have this fire engine. For me, when I lost that mojo, or I'm having, this last 2 years has been really tough because I like personal connection, and it's been really tough. And for me, it's so many, not just women on this call, men on this call, from every different level. It doesn't matter what your title is. I have, again, I like to reach out on the phone, but I am totally reached out and I'm like, I'm in a bad place or I'm feeling this and that. And honestly, there's so many people on this call, men and women, we've talked it through, and knowing that maybe they were in the same place, or just hearing that empowerment. We all need it sometimes. And I will say the reinforcement of my kids also saying it lately, especially for my daughter. We talked about being tougher on women, and I was like totally triggered because everyone knows that my son is my favorite son, and my daughter I am very tough on. And I'm like, why am I so tough on her? It's because I think I'm like, I did it this way, and I work so hard, and like I'm going to be tougher on her, and I am. And actually, her validation recently, where she was like, "No, mom, you're a great mom, and I've learned this, and this." And seeing her now as a young woman, I was like, okay, maybe I don't totally suck all the time, and maybe I can keep going. So I think it's you guys. We spend 40 plus hours together, and I really appreciate so many people who I can't see on this call because you've helped me through it.
I love that. I know, right? Debbie and I are like, how do we? I mean, I think what I can share is I remember almost 6 years ago, no, about 7 years ago, I had reached a time in my career where I was like, now what? Because I had done, if you ask me as a person who was an integrated marketer for television networks, working with shows that were like super trendy and pop culture-ish, I was always on the go and felt like I was always doing something that was like fantastic. So it's like, well, how do you get any better than this? And so I kind of had reached a little bit of a stalemate in terms of job satisfaction, which I always share with people, my biggest satisfaction in my job is taking something from concept to completion, especially in the kind of work that I do, from ideation to actual execution. And so it was really challenging for me because I was like, well, now what? Like, you can only do but so many award shows, but so many, red carpets, but so many fashion shows. What else is there? How can I actually help people? And then, I got my job at the Oprah Winfrey Network, and I was able to kind of infuse my spirit of being service oriented into the client that I was working with, which at the time was Procter and Gamble. And I think I treated that job like that really gave me a boost, a breath of fresh air. It put some oxygen back into my career because I found like I was actually doing things that was helping people versus just helping the brand and making sure that the brand had another consumer at the checkout line with their item. I was helping people like in some small ways change their lives. Like a mom who, has a 2-bedroom house and she's got 6 kids living in there, and how does she provide space that's individualized, that is motivating to each of her kids? And I actually got to ideate, through how to make that happen and then work with a brand to help make that happen for that mom. That was like some of the most like just invigorating and motivating and inspiring work that I've ever done. And then when I left there, I kept searching for that feeling again. It was almost like a drug. I kept searching for that, the hope that I could continue to make a difference in other people's lives through the work that I was doing. Um, it didn't happen right away. I ended up working with a nonprofit first, and establishing that nonprofit fed that passion and enthusiasm for helping others. But I will be honest with you. When I had my first interview with Kelly, and she shared with me all the wonderful things that Ben did in communities and how people were empowered and women were empowered to really have a voice here. I tell everybody this story all the time when I talk about how I ended up in bed. But that was really what pushed me and motivated me and made me realize that you can truly have it all again, for lack of a better term. You can be service oriented. You can help other people. You can make a difference in people's lives. And you can still create a damn good deck that makes a brand wants to spend money with you. Yes, you can do all of it. I am really, really lucky that I get to do that here at Vet. That has truly like it's made me rethink my career and the direction in which I'm going. I'm really, really grateful.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Incredible. Anything anyone wants to add here on this topic? Yeah.
I've got a quick one, and it just was, and it's not meant to be generic, but I remember at different times in my career when I realized I have no issue being recognized as a woman, none. But what jarred me to my soul was when I realized I was treated differently because of it. And that was a really ugly day. And it comes in different forms, right? And pay equity be one of them. And when you discover that, and you're working really hard, and you've got strong work ethics, and I didn't live that as a kid. Like thankfully, I had great parents, older brother, younger brother, treated me like an equal, never as a protected jewel or anything. Like there was three of us, and so I didn't learn that. I didn't learn that treatment growing up, and then I hit it in the workforce. And I was like, and I still hit it. Like there's tons of things, whether it's towards me or others, I see it. And that to me that's where I'm really hopeful when we share stories and when we look at where we can make an impact, or we look at a future state of what would the future state look like if we could remove the stuff that's there that just kills our spirit, or, judge me. Absolutely. Judge me on my performance any day, but don't put me don't hobble me, or don't make an assumption, or don't hurt me by something that I'm really proud of. And so that to me was a really ugly day when I discovered that.
See, I totally hear you on that. And I think I was fortunate. My first agency was all women. So
Nice.
all women, and nice. I think sometimes women are also harder on each other, right? Like you talked about, but I think it was so like embracing womanhood, so it was almost like we learned how to flip that. But I was so young and I was so naive. I just didn't think otherwise because it was all women, but on the other side, we all joke. I do joke that they used it. My bosses would use it to the other extreme where if I didn't have enough makeup on, like if I was going natural, wasn't feeling doing makeup, I was sent home one time to go put makeup on my face. And another time if people have heard me about my roll, she would roll my skirt up. My boss would be like, your skirt's too long. And I was like 23. So you're like, this is old entertainment, you guys. And so old Hollywood, and I don't know if what are you going to say? It's like, you're 23. You're like, okay. I'm also getting coffee at the kitchen when you're rolling my skirt up. So it's not like what am I doing with my hot coffee? I clearly too many details that I remember that. But, I hear what you're saying, Debbie. And it's, sometimes I try to reframe it. I try because what am I going to do? It's, but I do pull from a lot of young women in this company and from you guys and from those around me that, if you start thinking that way, you have to stop it, but also to the leadership of this company. I know there are a lot of new people, but it is totally a 180 as from the jokes about me saying COGS or the CFO who when we moved our offices across the street here in Sherman Oaks, trying to again be the cheerleader. I'm like, love our offices. And he's like, well, how are you going to get work done? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm a hard ass worker. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, the shoe store across the street. How are you going to get any work done? Because you're going to be shopping. By the way, I've never been to the DSW across the street to this day. And we've been here, I don't know, 6 years. But you have to it has changed, you guys, in such a positive. I know I'm sharing a lot of really honest stories that I can laugh at now. But there's such a difference in our leadership and our empowerment. And I could tell you, our current CEO, I went to share something that was harassment a few years back, and he tackled it immediately. And some know this short story, and he even got emotional because he was like, you should never be treated this way. And so to know that our leadership and to see the growth of women being, you know, Erin and Stephanie, are also so many women on here who've also been recognized in our organization. Like you feel really like empowered, you know, and I know I'm just sharing the story because it was very different before to what it is now. And I'm excited for a new generation to really have that opportunity and hopefully less of these barriers that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah, thank you all for sharing and being like so honest and raw. This is really, really incredible and insightful. A common thread you have all mentioned is having people to help you through these times where you feel discouraged. And so quickly, I just want to touch on the topic of mentorship. I think we talk about it a lot. We hear a lot of people saying, oh, my mentor helped me get this job or encouraged me to explore this path. And you are all so successful in your careers. So I'd love to know if you had a mentor, what role they played in your career. I know, Vanessa, you mentioned having kind of some unexpected help along the way. So I'd love to explore that. And then an additional question would be any advice you have for people to secure mentors and how to approach them, make them successful, because they are really useful if, if utilized properly. So I'd love to pass off to Vanessa to start us maybe.
Yeah, you know, when I was, I knew about mentorship at a very young age, right? And often sought out mentors when I was a teen, actually, starting from the time when I was a teen, because I always knew I'm really an entertainment nerd, a media nerd, and I always knew I wanted to work in television in some capacity. So most of my mentors were, you know, women that worked in the media industry. And I really thought that that was like the best way to go. Like you look up to, you know, the next, whoever is above you that looks like you, either they're a woman like you or they're black, like one of the two, right? And I think I was still at the beginning of my television career when I met a man who didn't even work in the same department as I did. And we had very, very, very little in common. He was from Zanesville, Ohio, and I'm from, I grew up in the Bronx. That's as far, you know, apart as you can get, right? Italian guy, and he, you know, his office just happened to be behind mine. And there would be times when I would be working late at night, and so would he. And he would start to, like, we would start talking shop. And it was during those times that he realized that my mind was just a little bit different than the position in which I was in. And so he started picking my brain, and little did I know, little by little, he started, you know, asking me to join team meetings, and then there was an official offer to join his department. Geez, do I date myself by saying how long ago this was? But I think this was like the year 2000. Yeah. I'm still really great friends with this man. We have worked together 4 different times. Out of the 4 times we've worked together, he's pulled me along. I think all 4 times, maybe, right? And he's been like such a great, you know, proponent for seeing me just expand in my career. As a matter of fact, it was him that said to me, just doing integrated marketing is not going to do it for you. You need to do something that is also going to feed your passion, right? And that kind of led me to where I am today. But when I look back at it, I think it took me a few years to realize, whoa, this guy really likes me and he's spending time on me and he's investing in me. That's the important part, right? He's investing in me. He's taking me places I've never been before and opening up doors that have never been open to me before. Wow, he's a mentor to me, right? And he just an amazing man. He's still a dear friend. I just saw him last week. And I think I have taken on that same spirit of mentorship that he had with me, with other people, right? And so over the years, I would say it's been about maybe, it's got to be maybe 18 years now, 16 years now that I've been mentoring myself. And I didn't even see myself as a mentor per se. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I was just starting out in the industry, but what I didn't realize was that there were other people who were also just starting out in the industry. So even if I were only one step ahead, or even if I were 5 steps ahead, the advice that I had that I could give them would be and help guide them through their career journey would be helpful in the long run, no matter what. I've had many mentees through this process, and some of them have even gone on to be greater than I am, like big shot music video directors and the sort. And I really still appreciate them, and they appreciate me, and they reach back out to me. Um, but what I can tell you in terms of how to, so that's my experience being mentored and being a mentor. Recently, I just had someone actually from Ben, who probably is similar to the story I shared about not being, very similar. He's a man, a younger man, kind of works in a similar department, but he came to me and he says, I could really use your help. And we've had several conversations now, and I didn't even really look at it as being his mentor. Really straight up asked him, you continue to be in my life this way, will you be my mentor? I was stunned and humbled by it more so. But yeah, wonderful young man. I appreciate him coming to me and asking me because it clearly meant he saw me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I just want to throw out there that if I love to mentor or just help out, so it doesn't have to be mentorship. So you can reach me at 818-427-5759 or at Not Really Care Lessa on IG or Slack or email. So I'm here. I love you all. And we all have great stories, but if you need anything, just give me a holler.
He's the
That's,
best.
I know we're going to get.
Caresa's helped me. I know we're getting ready, going over here. But thank you, Caressa, because you actually have helped me since I've been at Ben in more ways than one, both professionally and personally. I absolutely adore you. You give your phone number out so liberally. You know this is on YouTube Live, right? I'm just saying
well, I
it's
don't
on
care.
YouTube Live. So,
I can block as many numbers as I need to. So,
but I've had that number probably about 2 months into starting, because that's the type of person you immediately opened up yourself, your heart, your resources to me.
Hope that old CEO isn't
so
watching.
Much. I know, right? Debbie, I mean, you just came in and I met you and was like,
Wow.
She's amazing. I want to hang out with her every day.
We try. We keep trying too. Same feeling. I mean, I don't know who to thank that brought us together. Like just all of us together. This is great. And I know there's many more. Like there's so many people that I'm seeing comments popping up. Some I know the names, some I don't. How do we find each other? That's all I'm asking. Because what you just said, expression is exactly how I feel. And also just like the commitment that we just made, all of us, we're here. But who else? Like, how do we find each other more often? Because those moments together are, it's a shot in the arm. Just having the chat yesterday and then having a chat before we got on this call, I'm just like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. It's just, I'm invigorated.
Well, I'll tell you, I hope I'm not spilling the beans or any secrets or anything like that. So Kelly, please pop me on the hand if I am. But I do know that Ben has a mentorship program, a buddy program that they have put together, and it's actually been around for a while, and it's being reinvigorated. So I'm sure as soon as I've heard some announcements about it, I'm sure as soon as it's ready to go, if it's not already ready to go, that we will hear from Kelly and Mire and the rest of our wonderful team in HR, because it's a great resource to have someone that you can talk to about your career and more.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wow, this was really great. Thank you so much, Simone.
Of course. And thank you all. And thank you, Caressa, for also being my mentor throughout, the beginning of my career. I can't thank you enough. I know we are coming up, we are over time, but quickly, I want to just do a speed fire speed round. If I could ask you all to give your 22-year-old self one professional piece of advice, what would it be?
Mine
Wow.
would be, I wish to keep when I was 22, I really believed in myself and I thought that there was no risk of failure. And if I did, I'd just deal with it and get on it. And like I said earlier, to not doubt myself as I started getting older and I had more at risk. It just, hold on to that fearlessness of youth.
Mhm.
That I wish I had told myself. I wish I'd always stuck to that.
Love that.
Learn to negotiate, and I'm just building on yours, and that in life, because we never learned that, and we don't know how to. So be confident, learn to negotiate, stay true to what it is. We've kind of said all of this, but stay true to what is really important to you, and don't back down.
That part, I will echo that. Be you. I know it sounds cliche, but being you is the best way for you to feel fulfillment in your career and in yourself. That's what really matters.
I agree.
Thank you. That is all beautiful advice, and I'm taking it to heart. Thank you all so much for sharing your time and your expertise and your experiences with us. This has been so insightful for me and for everyone listening. So thank you all so much for doing this.
Thank you, Simone, for
Thank
jumping
you.
in a few weeks in. This is
I
good.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.